So I don't know what the intent was behind it. Who knows? She could have been trying to get us all three together.
It's no accident it sounds like you're leveling up in a video game. 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds have an online dating profile.
Make them work for it.
45% of people say they're more frustrated with this form of dating than hopeful.
There are so many people you can connect with.
The Swipe Wrong Podcast. Everyday people telling everyday stories of the swipe right world.
Well, I know he had a good time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. Sleep good. I'll tuck you in. Don't let the bed bugs bite unless that's what you're into, and then just let them bite and all the fun parts. Welcome to the Swipe Wrong Podcast. I am your host. I am your guide through this tour. I am Chaos, and believe me, there's reasons why they call me that. It's not just the name I gave myself. I don't know why I went there. Well, the number one podcast, Swipe Wrong, the number one podcast among Splenda daddies everywhere. That's where I'm gonna go with this week. Splenda daddies. They're not quite sugar daddies. They're Splenda daddies. So do what you want with them. So how y'all doing? You want to talk about it? Let me know. Give us a call. 317-426-6616. Shoot a text. Actually, we've been getting more texts lately than anything. So I think when I said call in the very, first, whatever, I guess 8 months of the show, that I should just said text. We're coming up on a year. 1 year, every week, you're getting a new episode. Yes, there's been bonus material at some points, and there's been previews of season 2, of season 3, and things like that. Well, we went and dropped the seasons. Now we're just putting out episodes every Monday. That kind of happened organically. Jay and I were talking. There was times when we're like, all right, I don't know how we're going to get, 10 people to talk about what's going on in the dating world, and it was tough. There was a lot of people who would say they were happy to share the story and would love to, and then come up to it and they'd be like, I don't think it's a good idea. And I'm like, why? I don't bite unless that's what you're into. But I get it. It's not for everybody. Some people worry how it might have some backlash professionally, or if somebody hears it on there, it might, so you have a bad effect or whatever. But I hope you're all enjoying it. And just based on how the show seems to be going, it sure seems like you guys are. So, for that, follow, subscribe, rate, send an email. Let us know how we're doing. swipewrongpod@gmail.com. But if you want to come on the show and you want to share your story, we would love to hear it. Shoot us a text at the number I gave earlier, or shoot us an email or call. We can chat. Anyway, that's the longest intro I think I've started so far. This week, I've been waiting for a while to sit down with this guy because you've heard him before. He was a part of one of the Threesome episodes, but he hasn't had his own individual episode yet. And we've been trying to connect for quite a while. And now we get to connect, and now you guys get to hear it. But the unique part about this one that I really, really thought is just different. This is not an on the app story. It's just, he's like, I just got a fucking dating story, an in the wild story that I want to tell you about. I'm like, bro, I'm happy to listen, because it's like the counterintuitiveness of the site to where this is the date that took him to go to the apps, which you're going, oh shit, there we go. So I don't know, figure you guys, it made me go, damn. I mean, the crazy, it's everywhere. You just got to have your guard up no matter what. So for that, you know what to do. Sit back, relax, put your feet up, grab your popcorn, get it buttered if you so want to get it buttered. If you're in traffic, please, for everything's holy, sit back, relax, and enjoy this. Don't hit that person next to you, and enjoy the date that drove him to the apps.
Did I forget to mention we do have a word from our crack staff legal department? Here they are.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions or any entities they represent. This podcast is about dating experiences. It is not to say one dating app is better or worse than another.
You're not on the sites now. You're happily ever after, right? I mean, you are good to go now. Like, you are marital bliss.
At the moment, I'm committed for sure, in it 100%. My girlfriend right now she's just unbelievably awesome. Continues to be awesome. There's no red flags in the last 8 months, 9 months, whatever, however long it's been now. Time just flies.
Yeah, no kidding.
We want to spend every moment we can together, and it's just been nothing but just good luck the whole time. Everything's been great. Family's great. I have literally zero complaints. That's pretty unbelievable now in this dating world.
That's no joke. That's because you met her on the site, right?
Yeah, off Tinder.
Off Tinder, of all places. Like,
right. As we talked about before, I mean, normally Bumble or Hinge is more meaningful. I gave Tinder a quick chance, and it ended up working out. She did the same thing. You never know who you're going to come across.
So you met her on that, and are you guys living together now?
No, not quite yet. We're trying to figure that out. We're looking at houses to buy somewhere. Problem is the distance. She owns a business down there.
I gotcha.
So she owns her own house, trying to figure out what the next move would be. So we spend so much time together as it is. We would definitely like to live together. That's our plan sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's just finding a middle ground as far as area goes between our families and her work and my work, and what we do with her house, sell it or rent it or whatever. So there's so many different things to figure out. Right?
Yeah, logistics can get in the way, but I mean, like, you're already kind of doing it, but buying a house together, that's a big thing too. So believe me, I do mortgages. I see it happen when people are married, and when they're not married, just kind of stuff to go through. So that's for sure. But anyway, so how long were you on there before you guys met?
I was using the app for a while, handful of months. I was maybe on Tinder only for a couple of weeks. From
really,
like, going off what I remember, I didn't meet anyone but her off that app. Actually,
wow.
And it was just here and there little dates and stuff. Everybody was great; they were decent, but I just didn't have that spark. I didn't see that future immediately, and I just kept on looking.
Yeah. So let's just go to the crazy that you ran into that we didn't get into last time.
Prior crazy off the app's crazy.
Off the app's crazy. Like, this is the stuff. So is this the stuff that the crazy apps or the crazy stories are made from? I
believe so. I mean, let's get this straight. Normally, you think of the apps, Tinder, dating world like that online. You think of, oh man, I'm going to meet some crazy ass people. Out in the wild, as you'd say, you don't really have that in your conscious forefront on your mind. Like, oh man, am I going to meet some crazy chick there? And sure as shit, I did. I learned a lesson from it. Should have trusted my gut. Should have trusted my other chick friends that were with me that have met her, and I didn't. I just kept on pushing on something I shouldn't have, and I got burned.
So this was you met her on Bumble?
No, this was in person.
Oh, this was okay. I'm sorry. You said in the wild. I apologize. I thought you said you're out in the wild. Okay, my bad. So, all right. So your other chick friends, did they know her?
No. So should I just start from the beginning and give you the?
Yeah, go for it. The once upon a time. My bad. I'll shut up.
So once upon a time. About September of last year, 2 months before I met my current girlfriend. So really close there. It's actually one of the reasons I gave the apps more of a chance. I was kind of down in the dumps a little bit from it. I was out at 115 Bourbon Street, south side of Chicago, over by in Marionette Park. One of the most, the best bars. It's like a mix of everything as far as like music goes and people you interact with. I just enjoy it. So I, as well as my family, love rock music, love classic music, stuff like that, Motley Crue and all that, Metallica. So they had a band there, Hair Band Night. It's awesome. So I've gone there for years. I've always tried to get my parents to go. We're really close, and my family and whatnot. Just never got a chance. Stars in the line, but one time it did. And so I took my mother out there as well as my cousin, and then one of my other friends had met up with me. She came out. She was out on Oak Lawn. We're out there at Bourbon Street, listening to Hair Band Night. It's wild. I'm a designated driver. I'm letting my mom have all the fun, and my cousin, they're getting totally wasted. They're getting a little rambunctious, bumping into people, talking to whoever. And so we go outside in the beer garden, and I'm talking to my friend. She's just telling me about her life and whatnot. And my mom just runs off as I'm talking to this chick. And I don't know how the conversation even started. I just looked over. I'm like, oh, there she goes. I have to go and grab her. She's aggravating people again. So I walk over there, and there's this girl there, and she's pretty cute. I just thought it was funny, a little bit, and we all just started talking, getting to know each other. And she was a little drunk, but we talked a little bit. She liked the Hair Band Night, that's why she was there. So that kind of sparked my interest already, the musical similarities that we had. And so we go back in there, hang out for a while, listen to the Hair Band Night. They wrap it all up, and just as a little joke before we leave, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, hey mom, I'm gonna take you over to like the club side. Call it the Boom Boom Room. It's all the shit that she shouldn't be seeing.
That's cool.
I took her over there. You got this woman in her 50s with all these 25-year-olds, and they're just dancing on each other, grinding on each other, all this stuff that she's never seen in her life. I'm like, yeah, this is how it's nowadays. Well, the girl that that we were talking to earlier starts literally grinding on my mother, just shaking her ass all over. And my mom looked petrified. She put her hands up. She's like, no, 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 get this off me. Literally, like, pushed her off. Almost fell on the ground. It was priceless. So her and I started talking, and she asked me for my Snapchat. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, a person my age, I'm 29. I'll be 30 in a handful of months. We always ask for phone numbers. Snapchat was always kind of like that's definitely a new generation thing. I never asked her age at the time. Come to find out, 22 turning 23 relatively soon, so there's an age gap, but you know what, at that point I was like, fuck it, why not, let's see how things go. So I didn't have any intentions. I added her on Snapchat, added her back, I should say, and the next day we started talking, and this girl lived really far. I have really bad luck with that. I've had 3 or 4 persons of interest that lived well outside my preferred zone of driving. And so anyway, she lived out in Indiana, over by Cherville, Gary, Indiana, or whatever's over there.
Okay. All right.
But that was a good 2 hours from. So she's like, hey, let's hang out. Let's go to Bourbon Street. I'm like, awesome. That sounds like fun. So we go. And I actually offered to pick her up. I was like, I know it's a long drive, but I'd rather you, instead of finding a ride or this or that or worrying, let me come out there and pick you up. She was amazed. Wow, you'd actually do that. Of course. Why not? A little bit of effort goes a long way in my eyes. So I drove out there, picked her up. We hit it off right away. It was almost like we knew each other, probably the best way to put it. I didn't feel shy. She didn't feel shy. It just felt very natural, which is hard to come by now.
Yeah.
So we go to Bourbon Street, and I guess let's backtrack a second. A little bit of both sides. You never know realistically what the other person's intentions are that soon. But I can tell you mine off the bat were not just to sleep together or hook up. It was actually to get to know somebody and see if something, arises from that meaningful. And so, we're there and we're dancing around. We're watching, the band and stuff. And we're getting a little touchy feely, nothing crazy, but we're showing we're trying to show our interest. At least I was. And so I buy her a handful of drinks and we're talking and she kisses me. And then she smiles and she's like, oh, I hope I'm not planning to sleep with you tonight. I'm like, that's fine with me. I didn't even really want that, to be honest. That's not what I'm after. Like, I'm not going to drive 2 hours, for some pussy. That's not my style. I'm not that desperate. And, she kind of laughed. She's like, yeah, my friends that I've talked to said, why would he drive that far? He must be trying to just sleep with you. I told her,
sure. I can see that.
Whatever. For both sides, I get it. And then, you know what? Any guy that was probably trying to just hook up would have said the same thing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But we honestly had a great time. After Bourbon Street, it was probably 2:30 in the morning. The place closes at 3. It's unbelievable. We ended up at this taco place somewhere. And it was like a little hole in the wall. I don't even know how we found it. Ended up eating some at the store and Adovada tacos out in the parking lot at like 3 in the morning. And just talking some more. Talking about other concerts we've been to and so on and so forth. So we get back to her place and she asked me, she's like, yeah, you got a long drive. Would you rather just stay here? I'm like, I wasn't planning on it. In my head, I was thinking this. I didn't say it out loud. But I was like, sure, why not? And so we go inside, talking some more, have a couple more drinks, and we end up going to bed. And literally, as I'm laying in bed, fully clothed, whatever, she drops her pants, and she's got like these bright, lacy red, pants. Like you could tell it's like almost lingerie. I was like, first I was like, damn, like she's hot. Just
right
there. And I was like, whoa, and she's like, are you sure that's not what you're here for? I'm like, no, I'm okay. Like, so she put on some pajamas, laid in bed. And long story short, I didn't try. I didn't make a move at all, whatever. That wasn't my intentions. And I wanted to make that abundantly clear.
Right.
She was upset that I didn't sleep with her. Well, whatever. We got, day 2 or day 3 or next week. We can always figure that out. But I did not come there to do that. I was very honest and forthcoming with that. And so she was kind of like amazed. We talked about it, more after. She was really surprised. So throughout the week or the next week, so on and so forth, we were trying to plan more days to hang out and stuff. I'll tell you, this girl, she didn't really have much. She came from a rough family. She had a rough upbringing. It was sad. But at her home, like it was her first place that she moved out, moving out of home, getting her own place. She didn't really have any, decorations in her room or anything. She was living out of a very small dresser. She just didn't have a lot to her name, which is fine. I wasn't going after anything like that. I wasn't driving like an immaculate car or whatever.
Right.
She was working, but didn't have what I would call a career yet figured out. She's younger, so she didn't really have much. But I wasn't really after that. I was after the person as they are, and so the way they act and the way they treat you. That's what I was looking for. And so we went out on a handful of what I would call more dates. We went out to a indoor golfing range. lots of little dinner dates here, Cooper's Hawk, stuff like that, and more to Bourbon Street. Now, mind you, this is only this whole thing between her and I only lasted maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And I'll tell you, in the middle of it, I was really invested for sure. I don't know how or why or what. Maybe I was just the way we met. And it was super fucking awesome, with my mother and everything involved. Like maybe I think I thought in my head, like, hey, this is how it's meant to be. This is how you're supposed to.
Sure. Serendipity.
And so we go to, let's see, we went out a few times to Bourbon Street. Yes. So I'm actually at work. I get a text message from her. She had a friend's wedding. I'm at work and I couldn't just up and leave work to go to this wedding. She asked me, she's like, hey, and I knew about this wedding. I didn't know if she already had plans for it or whatever, but she hit me up saying that her friend that was supposed to go with her totally bailed, pretty much asking me to go. And I was like, I don't have any clothes with me. I'm literally like, I do commercial HVAC. So I'm in high vis green and
sure.
boots. Like I don't have anything. And she's 2 hours away. And the wedding's in Valparaiso, which is another.
Yeah, that's a long ways from you. Yeah, I know what you're talking. That's a long ways from you.
You had to go to Valpo. And so I talked to my boss. He's like, hey, and I told him, I was like, hey, like I like this chick, whatever. I'm like a last resort kind of deal. Just met. This would be cool if I go with her. He's like, you know what? Okay, yeah, go ahead. So I call her up. We're down to the wire. I had to be there. We had to be at the wedding like 5 or 5:30. I think it was like 1 o'clock. So there's a lot of driving, a lot of figuring out and traffic and stuff, So she goes to the store, buys me some pants, some dress pants and a shirt. And I went to a store and found shoes, just, trying to make something up. Right.
Sure.
And I run out, pick her up, and we make it to the wedding. We're there at the wedding, and she's talking to me, and she did have some drinks with in her. But she was saying like, if you dedicate yourself to me, I'll dedicate myself to you. Like this will be a thing. Like, so she's using those like hard words. You know what I mean? Like blatant.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to misconstrue that or anything. And so that's where I kind of, I don't want to say got hooked, but that's where I was like, okay, now we're on the same page. We're after the same thing. So the wedding was great. It was hard on me to drive all the way out there, get out of where that took a lot of effort, I think. And so after the wedding, we ended up going back to her place and we ended up sleeping together, like for real this time. And it was, to be blatantly honest, it wasn't anything great. Yeah, or honest. I'm sorry, not blatantly, but honest.
Okay.
We had to learn each other. It was.
Yeah.
Her interaction with me and my interaction with her was much different than what I was used to in the past. And maybe it's an age thing. I'm not 100% sure because she was younger. And I don't mean like, oh, the age gap. I mean, like she was a young girl. She was 22 or 20, whatever at the time. That to me is younger. And so it was quirky. That's probably the best way to say it. It was like not a lot. Just things felt off. And maybe it's because I was a little bit nervous because I was actually invested. It's I thought about down the road, not embarrassed to talk about one bit with anybody. First times are sometimes weird.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say with that. And I didn't want to interrupt you. Sometimes the first time is the most awkward time because exactly like you said, you're trying to figure each other out.
Right. Exactly. You don't want to overstep your bounds.
Yeah.
Person.
How hard do I spank her ass? Was that too hard? Oh my gosh, that wasn't hard enough. I mean, you're always testing the waters.
You got the right idea.
Yeah.
What did throw me off a little bit, I hope she doesn't listen to this. Well, actually, I didn't really care. She told me to slap her. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's one thing to say, all right, we can slap my ass, whatever. But like, I'm on top of you, just stop and say, slap me. And I'm like, what? Like in the face? Like, I don't like that.
The first time. That's like, all right. Not as a one night stand either. That's the first time. That's opening the door.
It's going to happen here. You know what I mean? So after that, and we both knew, like the next morning, I was kind of like, I don't want to say I was a little bit shy, but I was kind of like in my head. I'm sure she was too. It was a little bit awkward and we left, or I left. Right. And so during the week, we're talking more and more. And I saw Bourbon Street was doing a Latin. They were doing more like bachata and like reggaeton and like J Balvin, just the Latin music that's fun to dance to. It's really awesome. It's gonna eat. And I was super into that. I went to Lollapalooza and I saw J Balvin live. It was just the energy is unbelievable. So I told her, I'm like, hey, let's go, let's do this. My brother that night also had like a housewarming party or I think it was a Friendsgiving. Yeah, this is well after he bought it. It was a Friendsgiving party and things weren't really lining up. But she said she wanted to go. So I asked her, I'm like, hey, do you want me to come pick you up? She's like, no, what you can do, like just meet me there. You can stay at your brother's house longer, kind of like figure that out. A little bit of compromise. So I took that as that's awesome. And one of our friends, a mutual friend that actually met that same night that was with her, she said that he'll come pick her up. And I truly believe they're just friends. I know him and I are a little bit closer. So the night of the party, I get ready to leave like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Kind of a dick move, leaving my brother's house early. They didn't want us to go. They want me to go. And so did that little sacrifice, got in the car, drove out to Bourbon Street. As I'm driving there, she's like, oh yeah, he'll be here in a little bit to come get. Like, okay, cool. So I'm driving, and my buddy, he texts me. He's like, hey, yeah, I'm here. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I'm looking for him. Couldn't find him. Tried calling me, didn't answer. Finally get a hold of him like an hour later. I'm there by myself watching the band. He's like, oh, he texts me. He's like, oh, over at this bar. So I walk over there, and he's like just sitting there watching. There's a boxing match going on. What are you doing? Where's I don't even know what to call her on this. Where's she at? And he goes, oh, they're over by the stage. And I was like, oh, I was just over by the stage. What the fuck? And I thought she was with some of her other friends, chick friends that I saw before. Well, I get over there, and she's with some other dude, like straight, like with another dude, right? I figured that out within the first 5 minutes because he was kind of like, who the fuck are you? He didn't say that.
Yeah, you can see it.
You have the unspoken, like, yeah, that's where we figured it out. So I'm over there, and I walk up, and I was like, straight up, I just said, hey, like, oh, what the fuck? You couldn't say hi? Like, what? Like, this was planned for us to be here together. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, whatever. Kind of shrugged it off. I was like, what the hell? And so she introduced me to the guy she's with, and we shook hands and stuff. And he's kind of confused. I'm kind of confused. And she's sitting there. I don't know what game ultimately she was trying to play. It was weird. I mean, it's one, if you're not interested in somebody and they show clear interest, you just say, hey, not interested. Sorry, move on. Or if you're trying to play both sides or whatever, who knows? I can't justify it. Waiting for somebody to justify it to me. So I was trying to figure out the whole situation. I started getting a little bit heated with her, just because I felt like I was getting dicked around. And I didn't say anything mean, but I was stern, on my questions. And she and her friend ran to the bathroom together, the other chick that was there. So I was there with that other guy, and I was just talking to him a little bit, not interrogating him, not questioning him about her at all. I didn't want to ask that. I didn't want to know that directly. Kind of wanted to feel it out. And we don't want, us guys, we don't want tension with other guys. We don't want to be fucked around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't want to be surprised,
Yeah.
And boyfriend, here's the weekday. You know what I mean? We don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He ended up being pretty cool. Like in our conversations, I had no ill intent with him. I don't think he had any either. But when she came back over, he grabbed her and like drug her 10 feet away from us and was like, what the fuck? I could tell. I wasn't like sitting there staring at them, but I could see it because I was kind of like pissed. And she kind of comes back over and I was like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm done. And she's like, oh, already? I'm like, yeah, I'm not.
Already.
And my other buddy that I'm cool with, he's like, oh, you drove all the way out here just to take off already? I'm like, yeah, man, too many times. It's not anymore. And that was it. I took off. Haven't really seen her since. I'm not spiteful. I haven't deleted her off any like Instagram or anything like that. And I'm not hateful either. If we have a quick 2-second conversation here or there about responding to a Snapchat or something silly, like that's the level at which we are. There's nothing more than that. I don't ever intend anything more than that to be there. Part of me wants to just lead her off, but then I feel like that's kind of spiteful. I kind of want to see how her life goes. Maybe I get to watch fight her in the ass, but I don't know. That's that story there.
Bro, it sounds like a fun movie so you don't want to like unsubscribe from this movie that she has going through. I mean, the first time you're having sex with her when she says, hey, slap me, not just which, hey, I'm all for anything in the bedroom. I'm totally in. But the first time you're kind of feeling stuff out and you're just kind of like, I don't know how hard to slap you. I don't know where to come. And then like once you figure it out, it might be hella fun. And that's for sure. But that had to be the first sign to like, where the fuck is this thing going to end? And for her to bring another dude to a place that she's going to meet you, like, that's just like, all right, I want this to be medieval times. You guys joust and you both are like, hey, dude, he's cool. We're just both out. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, who the fuck knows? I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to get into it. We haven't talked about it since.
Have you had did you start like after that? Did you talk to her like about anything over the next week, or did you just she was just gone and just put her out of your life?
Put her out. I started downloading some of the apps, and you know what? I firmly believe everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
Didn't go through that. I learned a little bit about myself because backtrack a little bit. I might have missed it. I had a bad feeling about it in my gut. Yeah. My chick friends that met her a couple of times there, they told me, hey, you could do better, run. And sometimes you got to investigate what you got to investigate. You never know, right? You don't know the future. You don't, it's not, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So you got to be thorough and check, I think, Sure. So I checked and I learned my fucking lesson.
Bro, you are, honest to God, the first story that had a date in the wild that pushed you to the app. That's the first one that I've heard. Everything else has the crazy dates on the app that are going into the wild. So yours was the reverse.
Yeah, man. It did. Let's go back years. I was on the app. I think I mentioned this last time. I was on the app before. That's where I met a girl from prior, I was on Bumble. So I wasn't really on them. It was a short and sweet kind of moment. But yeah, it was rough because I offered up a lot to the table. I know I do. I don't want to sound conceited, but like I know what my value, my self-worth is. And I was very transparent with that with her. I was very sharing. Anytime we went out, did things, I always paid for everything. I didn't want her to, so like I would have thought she would have valued that a little bit more. Coming from like all the stories that she's told me about her family, coming from that, I would have thought she would have valued my perspective on things or like the way I act. And I guess not, obviously.
No. Yeah. I mean, you can't fix it all. Like how long did it take you to get back on the horse and go out and date again? I'm sure you were kind of,
well, it didn't take long. This all happened in like October, and I met my September to October-ish when this happened. I met my current girlfriend in November. So it wasn't like I was definitely down a little bit. Like, how could somebody be so shitty to someone else?
Yeah, for sure.
It felt like almost evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at the whole thing as, from an outside perspective, we both planned to be there. You bring in another, like, what if I showed up with another woman? I was all over. Yeah. And like that was all intentional. It wasn't like, I accidentally ended up at a Jewel-Osco grocery shopping and I'm with a chick or she's with a guy. That's completely different. But this was an intentional planned moment. Yeah. And that's how it went. So I don't know what the intent was behind it. Who knows? She could have been trying to get us all three together.
Yeah, she could have. You don't know, man. I mean, it can't rule that out.
I have no idea. But I will say, I learned my lesson. It did dig a little bit into me, and you know what? I feel a little bit stronger coming out of it. I dated other people. I downloaded the app, and I just said, you know what? I kind of want to meet everybody now.
Right.
I was very much just like in a fuck it attitude. And I ended up meeting my current girlfriend, who's absolutely awesome. I wouldn't change a thing about her. So if I didn't meet her and go through that situation, I would not be where I am.
So let me ask you this though. So you going through that situation, you and I, you, me, and Mike, we talked on the another threesome episode, which I don't think I threw in here. Well, I'll throw into the intro, but like you had talked about, like didn't you have like a certain parameter or criteria? Like you had certain like almost specifics you were looking for and like dated with intent. Did this help you go to that dating with intent?
I dated with intent before, but not as specifically. I was broader before. I always dated with the intent to find my future wife. I didn't care as much about their independence or what they bring to the table as far as like job or lifestyle. It was more so their personality. Does it fit with mine? Can we build something together for a great future? Can we trust each other? Will she be there for me? Will I be there for her? That's what I always looked at.
Okay.
Coming out of this, though, I definitely felt like I wanted somebody more mature. I wanted a woman who had her shit together, who didn't necessarily need me. And I figured in that sense, if she didn't need me and she was spending time with me, she was choosing to spend time with me because she enjoyed rather than out of necessity. I'm choosing to spend time with you. I don't have to, but I want to.
Yeah.
That situation that I was in did narrow my perspective down a little bit farther. It's probably why when I went on so many dates, I just they didn't check that box. And so I went on like 4 or 5 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
It just, it was all one date. There was never a second, and that was on my part. I didn't want a second.
You knew that wasn't the one. You just weren't vibing it. So it was your vibe check. So that's, I mean, like you said, like everything happens for a reason. This definitely sounds like, I mean, other than the gas money, I mean, it was a little bit of an expensive lesson, but not entirely, but one that took you exactly where you're at with the awesome chick that you were talking about in the beginning. Dude, that's pretty cool.
It's just the way we met. That's something you tell your kids or your grandkids. That's a great. She was shaking her little ass on my mother.
Bro, you got to be talking about that at Thanksgiving or Christmas. Mom, remember that one girl I dated when she was freaking you on the dance floor? I mean, that's got to come up.
No, I mean, I thought that would have been a great way to do it, but my expectations were too low. Had my shit together. Should have trusted my gut. Hey, what totally threw me off? I don't know how I forgot this. We're going back, and I'm so happy in my current relationship. I haven't really thought about this since. Yeah. But it's each his own. I've known a few chicks like this, but she told me, slap her in the face and then spit in my mouth. I'm like, what? The fuck? You're 23 years old. Like, I don't remember the girls like that at 23 being, when I was that age. That was definitely where those two things definitely broke the consistency and put some thoughts in my head in the moment, which definitely made it. I didn't do that. I'll tell you that. I was like,
I didn't do that. I can't imagine you didn't do that, bro. Like again, like I'm sure, like the conversation leading up. If you were prepared and you guys knew and you kind of understood, then that makes sense. Like, because again, like I know I'm laughing because I'm laughing mainly because that had to be such a shock to you. Not there's no judgment. Like it's just be like, wait, I do what? Wait, I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's just like you said. You have a conversation, but there are certain things that we'll call in the norm, right?
Yeah.
That normal first interaction in the bedroom. That's just there's a window, and you can go outside that a little bit depending on how long you knew each other, what you talked about. But then there's like the kind of wild kinky stuff that you usually there was no working up to nothing. It was wild.
And the ironic thing, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but the ironic thing is the night that you spent the night and you didn't have sex, it seems like a conversation could have come up at some point where she's like, if we would have had sex, I like it a little rough. I like to be slapped. I like to, spit and then you're like, okay, cool. I know, then you're just not shocked. I think the reason I keep laughing is just the shock value. I love getting a little crazy. Sure. Have a good time, but there's no shock value once you have that discussion and you know what's going on.
What makes it more shocking is like, we knew each other a little bit, but I didn't feel 100% comfortable with that. I mean, it still felt so new. It's different. So you met a girl, say you knew a girl your whole life. She was a close friend or something, and somehow you guys ended up dating or whatever. Like there's a level of comfortability of if that first time happens and shit like this happens, you might find it funny, you might do it or whatever. It might right over your head and you don't care. But in this situation, I don't even know her. And she's like, two things: slap me and spit my mouth. I stopped and I was like, "Mom, pick me up. I'm scared."
What's my safe word? Pineapples. Thank you for being along for the ride of the Swipe Wrong podcast, where we take everyday people like you and me telling their everyday stories of their swipe right life. Show is produced by Jay Pelham. He is the host of Pelham Place. If you want to reach out to the show and tell us your story, we'd love to hear it. Give us a call. Google Voice us at 317-426-6616. Leave your information and we'll get back to you, or just your story. You can also email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. We are on Insta, Facebook, TikTok. We're out there. I am Chaos, the host of Chaotic Commentary. You can find me pretty much anywhere that you see me. And next week, the saga continues.
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong.